We're live. Hi, everyone. Great. Thank you all for joining us for the sixth session, right? And we have Alessio. He's an amazing guy doing great stuff with XR all the way from the Americas, if I'm correct. And joining me is Jennifer. Jennifer is my co-host for this session. So Jennifer, could you?
Yes, thank you. I'm thrilled to hear the presentation, particularly from a colleague so close to me, and really learn more, Alessio, around what you have to share with us with regards to knowledge transfer and the ways in which you're using virtual learning in, virtual reality in the learning space.
Thanks a lot.
So I'll give an overview of who Alessio is. So Alessio has close to 10 years of experience in delivering digital services and also creating technological ventures. We also have 5 years experience leading development in the VR gaming, also training simulations, and also interactive projects around XR. So I connected with Alessio last year, early last year. They were developing a game which I had the better access to, and I must say it was great, right? Connecting with him and seeing the great stuff they're doing. He'll be sharing on VR training knowledge transfer, and I believe it's going to be amazing, right? So Alessio, you have the floor. Have fun.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Arome. Thanks a lot, Jennifer, for letting me be here with you, sharing with your audience. I'm very, very happy to be sharing you about this theme, this subject that is very important right now because it's something that's evolving in the workplace every day. So we have to focus more in what it's the way that you are really training people. So we want to give some insights about the process that we follow. I think it's going to be very enriching for people that are also looking to create this kind of training materials. So first of all, I'm going to talk, briefly about myself. I am a person that have been working for 10 years in space of technology, but right now VR is something that it's interested us a lot. And we have done many trainings and we have learned a lot from them. So we want to share a little bit of that with you. So first of all, some of the values that we mostly impulse are chasing the future, simplified, complicated connections, making things easier for the users and also for the people that administrate these tools. And of course, understand humans, because humans are a very specific type of people. There are very lots of different people that we have to understand, and they have different needs and different motivations. So in Fuse, we have more than 8 years. Right now, we have more than 20 members, and we have developed several types of interactions and services for companies here in Mexico and also in other countries. But in the end, something that has really interested us a lot, it's VR, and we have done more than 50 projects in VR. So we're going to showcase some of that. So first, I want to talk briefly about the benefits, of course, of virtual trainings. You might already know some of this, but the main insight that we want to focus on is that if it makes training more efficient, it can be customized into a more specific and more valuable way, depending on your scenarios. It can also, of course, reduce costs when you take into account several things that you are not going to need to buy or generate in processes in time that consumes from the people. It, of course, is more safe because you're not going to be risking people to be in these risky situations. And the retention, the capacity of people understanding the training, it's increased because they're going to be directly interacting and hearing the noises and the processes being closely related to what they're going to see in real time. So that's very valuable. And of course, there are also more benefits that we want to point out, that we can automate several things. So you can be having other things happening instead of being there with the training people. Your collaborator can get better retention, as we have already said. And some of other aspects that we want to point out is that the detection of these little tasks that are going to be done, and subsequently you're going to find out that things are being done in a different way or have a different approach. So this is something very valuable in getting data to improve the training experience. So What technologies are you using right now to train collaborators? I think most of the companies worldwide are starting, of course, with real trainings, like going to the place there and teaching people how it's going to be done. But of course, there's something that it's in the edge of what you can understand there, what you can see, and of course, what technology can do to improve that. So we want to focus on three main things that make the difference in this aspect with VR. The first of them is psychology, because there's something about very important about how you experience things in a way that you really feel there. So it really makes a difference. And we want to point out that in your brain, it really makes a huge difference. The engineering side, because you can do all things really more automated. So you're going to be doing more training in less time. And the visual impact, that it's also very important, because people are going to feel, are really going to be integrated into the experience. So that's something that really drives people to generate a better knowledge transfer. So we're going to showcase very briefly some of the experience that we have. I mean, this is our just a very brief video regarding some of our training materials. I think it's not running. Okay, I think I'm gonna go to the next one, because I think it's not that important, just some references forward. But let's talk more about the value that we have to generate in these virtual trainings. And one of the things that we are also using in the psychology side to improve these results is what's called gamification dynamics. Some of you may already know these concepts. Gamification, of course, are the ones that generate certain rules and certain aspects of how a process is done, so people get more engaged with it. So one of the main aspects of designing this kind of dynamics, it's analyzing whether you're going to automate the scenarios, and of course take into account for the industrial side specifically how much risk are you going to avoid with this kind of technology, this kind of knowledge transfer. So the next aspect that we want to focus on is increasing the knowledge of the trainees through, as I said, these immersive experiences. Then we want to keep employees engaged. So that's why we designed this gamification scheme, taking into account, as I said, what they are, who they are, because it's very different which kind of rewards are going to be valuable for people, for example, in our country, are very different from people from other countries. So from that aspect, cultural aspect is very important to think of, and make the process richer. And for that, we focus a lot in interviewing, in analyzing, in talking with people. There's nothing greater and more valuable for a training designer, so to say, to have this direct feedback from people. So it's very, very important. It's key part of our process. Okay, so this is one of the other references that we wanted to show you. Some of the VR trainings that we have made. This range from things, like I said, from safety standards to things more about direct processes of some companies. We cannot showcase everything that we have done here, because it's we have several copyright contracts that we need to intellectual property contracts that we need to keep. So I'm sorry, but we can showcase more on that on request. Okay, so why design this kind of virtual trainings that engage more? Of course, there's something that training admins around the world ask themselves, but how do you justify the investment in this? So that's something that it's not as easy as it seems, but of course you have to focus on what the company is really investing already in training, or it's losing from not training these people. So we're going beyond that. So going to more than just a normal training, because normal training, of course, is going to teach you something, but we think with that we can go a little bit further from that. And there are, of course, some statistics that support that in terms of what you can learn, the retention rate, and of course, there's a very, very high number of accidents already happening in scenarios that could be avoided. They could have been trained in a different way, because sometimes the training, as I said, it's being done in paper or with just a presentation, some videos, but not the real thing. And you cannot very easily stop a process or a factory or a production line just to train people. So that's why VR training really fits here and makes a difference to generate a better approach of cost ratio, where you're going to invest and where you're going to get. So VR, of course, is one of the main technologies. Of course, there are other technologies, but this is one that this is one that we want to. Sorry, this is one. My cat was here moving the camera. So this is something that we want to point out, that immersive experiences are not the only way of training people, but are just one of the best ways. Just one of the ways that people are now knowing more. And we have to understand how to go from a regular training that, as I said, it's being done in paper or in a presentation, to a peer training. So what we do specifically with our clients is that we have to go directly to the site, directly to the point of training, because we have to understand, see the area, see the main aspects that we have to take care of. And of course, we have to, as I said, talk with people, see them doing the exercises, the processes, or even so, we have to involve ourselves and even do it ourselves. So we need to start by understanding the processes. Sorry, which of the processes need to be simulated. So how do we do it today? So right now, what people do is that, of course, they go to the training space and they start analyzing. But of course, one of the main aspects that they don't do, sometimes we think that they only talk with training admins. Training admins have a certain approach of what they wanna showcase, but in reality, doing the process, it's a little bit different. So that's why we start first with interviewing employees, interviewing users from the system, from the machine, from the risky process. So we have to understand the little details that make the difference. Because in safety procedures, sometimes the difference is hearing a little sound or smelling a little bit of some gas. Okay, so sometimes it depends on analyzing a certain crack or a certain stability of an object. So it's something that it's really not easy to for a normal person that is starting their job to understand. So being done in an immersive way, you can really grasp up the details and let people better understand how it's going to look in the real way. So okay, so after, of course, we do this interview, we do several types of questions, but the more complete aspect that we want to integrate, as I said, is the little details. The details are the ones that are sometimes skipped and are the most important. And from that, we have to, of course, generate an organization of how we're gonna put this information into context and how we're gonna separate it. So for that, we generate these kind of diagrams where we start analyzing the different scenarios, because sometimes it's also very important to point out that it's not just a black and white situation. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and if it doesn't look like this, I'm gonna do this. It doesn't work like that. It's not black and white. It's lots of shades of gray. So we have to understand where those little points take you out. And sometimes you can make all things good, but maybe the final step is the one that was wrongly done. And that's where the problem resides, that you don't have the experience of watching all those steps play out. So you, of course, take into account that when you design these kind of trainings. And with the power of technological computing power, of course, processing power, we can simulate scenarios, we can simulate variables, we can put little details for some people. For some other people, we're gonna put on other details. And these things make the difference, because if you just learn about the time, about the process, you're gonna, like repeat it in your head, but you're not going to understand what you're doing. And that's one of the main difference. Of course, from that point, we have to go into a script. Script, of course, gets a lot of detail and gets a lot of text and gets a lot of, the aspects of what we are going to see and interact. But of course, we have to, as I said, integrate the users, integrate the final users of the system, so they can point us out if the script is being well done, and of course if the details are really clear. But of course, we cannot just believe that because they are telling us that it's true. We have to test it. We have to go for it. And in the meantime that we are designing and we are creating this development, we have to go, that's the process that we follow. We have to go with people again and prototype and, go quick with them, create a deployment model where we start, analyzing the data that they're teaching us. And from that, we are going to start going quicker in the process. From that moment, we can start the development, like more in a formal way, because we already have a prototype, we already have the experience, the information regarding the people that is going to be involved in the process. So from that point on, we start analyzing better the information given and see which are the technical details that we're going to point out. For example, some trainings require some certain tools, require some certain kind of wardrobe or something that you're going to wear. So these things interact with the real experience. So if you're a firefighter, you cannot be training in a normal costume, in your normal jeans, a fire training, because of course in the reality you're going to have a very different situation. So those kinds of aspects need to be really set up and considered. And of course, one of the main advantages of virtual reality is that it's now getting a lot of interactions, a lot of elements that we can integrate, such as I said, the fire hoses, something that you can also now integrate and simulate. Those kind of things really make the difference, because of course it's not the same wearing or having in your hand a controller than rather having a real aspect, a real gun or a real hose or a real tool. But the technology is really keeping up to deliver these better experiences. So this prototype is going to be very valuable to understand how we are developing our training program. And we do a lot of visual presentations. We do a lot of visual interactions with the client, so they can be in sync with what we are developing. And of course, they give us these insights, but of course, we have to take it into account, generate certain, for example, storyboards, certain aspects that help our team, our development team, develop this alternate reality, and of course, see what the little details are going to be in the interaction. Okay, so yeah, we do these sessions with our clients where we showcase directly what we're doing, how we are animating things, and that way it's better because they can test it directly into their headset. We send them a version to test, and we can get very, very quick feedback from them. Right now that the coronavirus have struck us all around the world, it's a reality that people are analyzing better ways of training, but without being present. So the concept of VR training, it's already widespread. It's really taken off. So it's not just a question about why should you do it, but when should you do it and how are you going to do it. But yeah, I think that it's something that we have to focus on as training admins or training designers to really understand our users, because that's the one thing that's evolving. Right now, machines are overtaking. There are a lot of machines that are going to automate a lot of processes. So fewer people are going to be needed, but the people that are going to be there need to have a better formation, need to have a better knowledge, because they're going to be taking care of more things. So that's definitely something that VR training will help a lot in. So, sorry, returning to the presentation. So then we proceed to work on these changes. We really do want to be close with our clients. We try to avoid sending them changes, in the course of a month. We try to do it weekly or bi-weekly. That way we can be closer and we can have a better understanding. We, for example, generate these versions where you can test, of course, at several aspects. You can test the scenarios, see how it plays out, which details were missed, and from that concept, we can, of course, get more feedback. And of course, everything that we have already talked about is just first prototype. First prototype, it's of course something that is not finished. It's a beta, as you want to call it, but it's something very, very important that we have to make clients understand that, of course, if you want to get a polished product, you want to get a polished result, you have to keep polishing these prototypes. So we have to do it faster, but in a smart way. But yeah, that's the way that we're going to get the most insights and do it faster as we can. Okay, so I'm going to skip also this video because it takes a little while to load. And yeah, as I said, the last aspect, the last steps, of course, is testing. But the more directly, the more direct feedback we can get from users is going to be the best. So sometimes it's better to be there. Sometimes you cannot be there because, of course, I said the geographical location or anything. But of course, technology is working there to make it that easier. But yeah, that is something that we want to stress out a lot, that there's nothing better than really talking with persons and having direct feedback. So as I said, there are technologies that are helping us reach our audiences, our users in a better way. So that process is going to be evolving, and for that evolution to happen, as I said, technology is going to take over. So one of the technologies that, of course, we are also tinkering with and playing with, and of course, we think that it's also the future of training. It's also augmented reality. In another sense, augmented reality will help you in different ways, because you're going to be in a physical space, but of course, you're going to have this overlay of things that really helps a lot because it's more real. But of course, you're all limited. You still need the space, so there are certain limitations. That's why we think that VR, it's really getting a better chance of doing more simulations in terms of what you can simulate. And of course, augmented reality is going to be more real. And of course, the other aspect that we want to stress out, that it's we're waiting for that to be more widespread, and of course, the technologies are facilitating and making that easier, is to have real collaboration in real time with people, so you can also design the training simulation directly with people interacting in the virtual world. So that way, your client can be directly doing the process, and that will not be other better way to showcase the real experience that their user is going to have. So that's something that, as I said, it's already being done. It's just going to be more widespread in the upcoming years. But I think the main aspect that we want to point out is that the communication, the direct feedback, humans talking with humans about their problems, that is something that it really makes a difference in the knowledge transfer aspect. Okay, so just to end, because we're going to end right now, so you can also send us if you have any questions or comments that you want to take out. So we have to start thinking about our real results that we want to get. So the main aspect that we should start, because that's one of the main engineering aspects that we learn as engineers, is to what you want to measure, what do you want to have as your performance indicators and goals. And from that point, you got to start. And of course, I said, if you don't justify enough the solution or the aspect that you're going to get with the training, with the benefits, you're not going to be able to have this investment made. I think that is something that you have to start from the beginning. It's very important. And from that concept, we have to need involving the solution. And one of some of the main obstacles that we find to deliver this kind of justification for clients or for the company, it's mainly insufficient data, that we don't have data to prove how we're gonna do this difference, the return of investment, lack of motivation to really get into new technologies, or people to really understand how they're doing things and analyzing that. Of course, that leads to a resistance to the change, because change, of course, it's inevitable, but we know that people are always in this defensive approach, so mostly people that are higher in age. So we have to take into account, but technology and results will do the difference. And of course, we understand that having a training that is made in a virtual way or augmented reality way, it's going to have a higher production cost. But as I said, if we focus, of course, first in the return of investment, in the KPIs, that is something that we are going to really make the difference, and of course be able to justify. And just to conclude our session today, we want to point out these three main aspects of everything that we have done said today. Integrate these closer ways of understanding how knowledge transfer is going to happen and how it's going to be successful. As I said, a successful knowledge transfer is not just done in paper, not just done in a test, but rather in real situations. So that's one of the main things that you have to take into account. You really have to have a deployment or implementation program where you can measure that and see if knowledge transfer is being done in a good way. Thinking about the scalability, because if you are a company that's just focused in an area or just focused in a factory, when you have a more widespread use of these processes, of course you're gonna see this as a not a good investment, because you're not gonna see the return. But I think that's one of the main aspects that we point out, that you have to think about the scalability of a virtual solution compared to, as I said, having different areas to train and all the training admins and everything. And just to end, as I said, one of the main assets focus on the goals and the scenarios that they're going to be analyzing, are going to be simulating, because if they really make the difference in a life, I mean, you can save a life. Of course, you want to help the company. Everyone wants to help the company, but we haven't stressed out the importance of these simulations to really save lives, to help people really have a better outcome of their work. Because sometimes you do the work well, you do the work in a safe way, but you don't do it in an ergonomic way, and maybe you have problems later in life. So everything that's better for the employee, for the users of these machines, of the processes, is going to be valuable, not just in terms of money, but in terms of quality of life. And well, thanks a lot for coming with us today, for hearing us out. Really, the future is what inspires us, and we'll be happy to create a better future with you, your clients, or anyone that really wants to, deliver a better knowledge transfer in this case. Thanks a lot for hearing us. I hope the presentation ran well and it was well understood. And if not, please let me know any comment or question that you may have. Thanks a lot.
Bravo, Alessio. So you did.
Thank you,
So
Alessio.
Jennifer,
I really appreciate some of the concepts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It sounds like you have a bit of a delay.
Yeah.
Alessio, I appreciate some of the concepts that you've shared with us around the ways that you not only transfer knowledge, but also change behaviors that help people to be safe. And you talked a lot in your presentation around different ways that you're utilizing VR and AR in environments in which people really can get themselves in dangerous situations that we want to prevent, right? Can you talk to us briefly with regards to what types of behavior you're seeing people kind of shape and build and change in these environments that you've built around safety and situational awareness? And maybe just give us an idea of what kind of tangible data or measurement have you been able to capture that shows that people are making smarter decisions in the virtual world or augmented reality world, and then carrying those decisions into the work that they do in ways that keeps them safer?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jennifer, for the questions. Starting with the first one, we tend to analyze how people, as I said, how people react. And of course, it's not the same to wear a headset and not wearing it. So what we have seen mostly in the training that we have made is that people are really looking out at their environments more. They are looking for little details that they haven't seen before. As I said, in little details like, for example, sounds, because that's one of the things that we stress out the more when we design these visual trainings, because sound, it's very complex when you are in a work environment. So little alerts or little notifications about what's being done wrong are very valuable. So one of the main things that we have seen is that people get more attention to sounds, and even so that even the training admins that have worked with these trainings have stressed out to the production partners in the company to put out these audio cues for people to understand better where things are going wrong. So that's one of the main things that we have seen, that people are now understanding that there are some aspects in the training simulation that help you better understand what's happening, and that those can be implemented in the real world as well. So that is something that is also good, because they're changing the way that their processes is being made by analyzing it from another perspective. And from the second question that you asked about regarding the data that we have seen, we have done a very good training program with a company that had this high accident rate in the operation and the maintenance of elevated elevated.
Working at heights.
Yeah, working at heights. Yeah, so elevated area. So that's one of the main things that we were focusing on because they had a lot of accidents in there. So we designed this training focusing on that aspect. And from 1 year to the other, they had 50% less accidents, and they had no fatalities in that year. So that's one of the things that we want to point out, that they really make a difference in people, not just in the numbers or the return of investment of the company. But that's one very, very nice case study that we have. But there are other data that are being tracked, as for example, the time of the amount of time that people take to complete a certain task. It has been improving, of course, with these simulations.
Awesome.
Wonderful. And I think the more that we incorporate those things into the training environment in VR, the better off we are, right? I think, if you're measuring those things with regards to the ways that people interact with equipment, working from heights, for example, with harnesses and all of that kind of stuff, and then also incorporate the ways in which they interact with each other, I think we get to a place in which we're really doing something exciting. For instance, if you see someone working from heights without the right PPE, do you intervene in the situation? Things like that I think are really, really powerful. So it sounds like there's some great work going on there. Thanks for sharing that with us.
No, thanks a lot for letting me.
So my question is, what's the average turnaround time for a VR training project that you normally execute for your clients?
Sorry, can you repeat again the time?
The average turnaround time for your projects from actually engaging with the client and delivering the project. What's the turnaround time?
Oh, turnaround time. Yeah, it depends on, of course, the process. Sometimes it's a specific process. For example, in working in heights, specific process. But sometimes they want to do a more complex scenario. So we have been working projects from 2 months, from at least 2 months. I mean, there's of course the need of understanding the real scenario that we have, because sometimes we have to fly to another state to visit the space and take photos and everything. But yeah, I could say that from at least 2 months, because we have to do all these things. And sometimes projects have taken a year, because they are very, very complete. But as I said, one of the main aspects that we have is that we don't let our clients see the result at the end. We start prototyping from the first month, and that way we can implement some scenarios that are prioritized in the project from 2 months or 3 months from.
That's great. Thank you so much, Alessio.
Thank you.
Any further questions, Jennifer? We're about to wrap up.
Just a comment. I mean, I think there are so many of us in this space, Alessio, that are really hoping that we can open up opportunity and make people safer and healthier through their access to emerging technology. And so I would just encourage you to continue your work in the space. There's so much for us to do. And it sounds like, you're very passionate about making the right choices to really help bring about those outcomes for others. And so I appreciate that. And I appreciate the time that you've spent with us today.
Yeah. Before we go, we have a question. Somebody's asking, do you do a person or employee or share? Okay, do you do a person, employee, or share a headset? If so, how do you measure assessments? So I think he's talking about sharing the experiences. Okay, for example, I use the headset and I'm done. Jennifer uses the headset, she's done. How do you measure or how do you assess the experience from one user to another?
Yeah, well, we have different types of users, and for example, the experience that we already have with companies that have, for example, different factories in the same country, is that they have different approaches about how they implement that. But in the end, we have data that comes from the experience, as I said, the time that take people to do some steps, or for example, the feedback that they bring. They leave a little voice note to leave a feedback about the experience. So that's something that we do to compare or to analyze the experience in the different types of users. And of course, we are always comparing to see the aspect that follow through in all of those users. And yeah, I mean that's one of the main things, comparison. But I don't know if that was the question, Arome. Sorry.
I interpret the question to be a bit about whether you're capturing named user data specifically around individuals, but that might be just my interpretation around the question.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, data, of course, is always captured. I mean, when you are in the headset, you're always transmitting the results, and as I said, the time that takes for you to process everything. And yeah, we also have some feedback around how they move and everything. But in the end, those data points, some of those are not so relevant. The most relevant, I think, are the ones that give us an insight about the process, about if it was well done, if there was something missing. So it's more about qualitative aspects, and data. Yeah, we get some data, but it's mostly times interacting or times they try, things like that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alessio. How can people connect with you easier or faster?
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm gonna very quickly put on my my information. You can find me in Twitter or LinkedIn. I think it's better. In any of those social networks, you can look out for me with the handle Russildi, which is my last name. And yeah, I'll be very happy to talk with anyone about this aspect, this subject. And of course, if you want to integrate some virtual training, well, I'll be more than happy to help your company reach a better future. And as I said, I'm very happy. Thanks a lot, Jennifer Arome, for inviting me, of course, Team of Use,
Thank you.
knowledge transferring here.
Thank you so much. And my regards to the entire team. You guys are doing an amazing stuff, and you all stay safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you too, Jennifer and Arome. Have a great day.
Great day. Take care. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So up next is Hamed. Hamed is the chapter lead for VR AR Association Nigeria. He'll be showing on how he operates. So sorry about that. And we'll be switching to that in a bit, and see you all very, very soon. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone.